As we observe Teen Suicide Prevention Week, there is an alarming mental health crisis brewing among young people. More than 7,400 children aged below 18 were treated for suicide attempts in just 8 months, and this is according to statistics from the Department of Health. Let's delve further into this now. We speak to the South African Depression and Anxiety Group's project manager, Roshni Parbhoo-Seetha. Good evening to you, and thank you so much for your time, Roshni. How alarming are these figures?
It is extremely alarming to think that we are losing that many children, or even children thinking about suicide or hurting themselves is very, very overwhelming and stressful to all of us. And days or weeks awareness campaigns such as Teen Suicide Prevention Week are the reason why we do what we do.
And one wonders, right, because when you speak to a number of parents, when they see such statistics or they talk about their children not being okay, a lot of them will say, but these are children. Why are they stressed? What's going on? So one would then want us to start by answering that question for a parent who's probably wondering the same tonight.
Absolutely, and that's where our problem lies, is that so many of these kids have said to us that we understand that mental illness is a real illness, but please speak to our parents, speak to those that are looking after us, because they don't get it. They don't see that we are struggling. And so a lot of us as parents, we say to our kids, but what are you so sad about? What do you have to be so stressed about? What is so overwhelming? I am the one that goes to work. I am the one that brings home the money. And so we don't get it. As parents, we don't get it. As caregivers, we don't get it. But these kids are going through a lot. So the South African Depression and Anxiety Group works on the ground with these kids at the schools, and they are going through a lot. There are so many issues that they are facing. It is incredibly overwhelming what they are going through. And no one child is going through just one problem. There is layers of things that they are all going through. And as parents, yes, we do say that, but I think it's time for us to actually listen and understand when they try to speak to us.
So when you are speaking to them on the ground, right, what seems to be the common theme when it comes to some of what they're going through?
It's so many different things. There's no one thing. It's academic pressure. It's the pressure to succeed. It's that pressure from family to succeed. It's that pressure from themselves to succeed. It's bullying, whether it's online or in person. It's family conflicts, it's financial pressures, it's teenage pregnancy. There are so many different things that these children are going through. And you could speak to one child and say, what is the problem? And he says, I'm struggling at school. Why are you struggling at school? Well, I can't do my work. Why can't you do your work? Because at home, my family is fighting. Why are they fighting? Because dad lost his job and now we don't have any money. And so there are so many things that they are dealing with. And you don't know where to start when as the child, they don't know where to start with. What is your problem? What do you want to speak about? They don't know which problem to deal with first. And so that in itself feels so overwhelming.
And Roshni, you've just touched on something very key there, because, you know, sometimes when parents are going through stuff, they don't think that the children are aware, or it trickles down to them, or it impacts them in some kind of way. They actually just think that we are going through this, we are trying to stay afloat, we're trying to keep it to ourselves as much as possible, but it does affect the young people, as you've just said.
100%. And I think as parents also, we are all trying to do our best for our kids and to make sure that they are happy. And so this little conflict happens at home. But as I've said, now our learner can't do his work because he is worried. Does this mean I would have to leave school? Or what does my future look like? And so he doesn't do his work. He goes to school. He hasn't done his homework. He's in trouble at school. Now he can't concentrate. And it's just such a cycle of events that never ever stops. And so as parents, yes, we may be trying to do our best and we try to keep those conflicts. Sometimes we think we're keeping them to ourselves and doing our best, but the kids do pick up on it. Our kids pick up on whatever we are going through. And we have to remember that.
There's another side to this, right? Is that if you're raising a teenager, this will sound all too familiar, is that they are closed in. They don't want to talk. Sometimes they, lock their bedroom doors, do not tell you what's going on. You try to speak to them. What is happening at school? What's going on? Are you okay? One-word answers sometimes. If you're lucky, it's a sentence. How do parents begin to breach this particular gap and also just get the children talking?
And so I am raising a teenager, and I know exactly what you are talking about. And sometimes it's so difficult to find that fine line between being a parent and being a friend. And we never have to be the friend. We always have to be the parent. But we have to be that parent that offers that safe space, that will allow them to speak without judging them. And a lot of these kids, some of them have said to us, I have spoken about what I am feeling, but I am getting judged. And I am getting screamed at that you have nothing to worry about. You have nothing to feel stressed out about. And so, as a parent, the best advice I can give is offer that safe space and don't judge. I think sometimes the worst thing for us as parents is asking our child, what is wrong? Because we are so scared of what that answer may be and can I actually help them? And we don't always need to know how to help them immediately. Parents always don't have to have the answer. It's okay to say, I don't know what that feels like, but I do know of this organization and we can reach out to them together. Or I do know, I've heard that mental health or mental illness is a real illness. And so let's find out, let's read about it, let's research about it together. But not judging them, I think, is the most important thing.
I suppose then it calls for, one would say, training or a reaching out on both fronts, because as parents, right, we've got this innate ability to just want to help, want to try and solve the problem, but at the same time, we still need to learn how not to judge and to listen and to then be able to speak to our parents, which is something that would have probably been different when we were growing up. So I suppose that it speaks to parents also needing some kind of assistance to then be able to also better parent, I suppose.
100%. We grew up in such a different time where things were so different. Things weren't as stressful and a child was allowed to be a child. And life was a little bit more innocent. And we were a lot more supported. And that is just the reality. These kids have so much more pressure and are very overwhelmed. Going into the schools, I see that firsthand. Raising a teenage child, I see that firsthand. I see the pressure that these kids are under. And so we are constantly learning. Even at this age, I am still learning how to open up these conversations, how to start these conversations, how to make that a safe space, not just for my child, but for all of those children that we are going into those schools for as well.
Yeah.
But not only do we need to teach the children, we have to educate the educators, we have to educate the parents, the caregivers, community members. So this issue is not just a school issue. It's a whole community issue. It's a nationwide issue. We all need to learn and normalize this conversation around mental illness.
I'm still learning how to balance between turning off the radio in the morning and then having a conversation and then the drive. I think you know what I'm talking about. So I'm still learning all of that. So let's give parents and young people the number to call when it comes to your organization. If somebody's watching us right now, they're feeling overwhelmed, they don't even know where to begin.
So the number to call is our crisis line number, which is available 24/7, 365 days a year. Whether you are struggling at 2 p.m. in the afternoon or 2 a.m. in the morning, there's always a counselor available to answer this line. It's 0800 567 567. But sometimes people don't want to call. Sometimes they may just want to find that information themselves. And our website has a wealth of resources on it. And that is www.sadag.org. Or if you just want to drop us an SMS on 31393, a counselor will get back to you and speak to you and see what the issue is and try and find you the best type of support that you may need.
All right, let's repeat the numbers for our viewers. 0800 567 567, that's a crisis line, www.sadag.org, and then also 31393, that's the SMS line. So if you or your teen are struggling and you need some kind of support, do make use of those resources. Roshni, appreciate your time as always. Thank you so much for chatting to us. That was the SA Depression and Anxiety Group Project Manager, Roshni Parbhoo-Seetha.